Welcome to Amy's Bookshelf Reviews podcast. Sit back and listen to interviews, discussion about books, and anything else literary. There's always something or someone new on the show. Oh. Good evening, listeners. Welcome to Amy's Bookshelf Reviews podcast. Behind the books, honest voices, real stories. I'm Amy Shannon, and I'm pulling back the curtain, bringing you heartfelt and real conversations with the storytellers and creatives that go beyond the books. You never know where the conversation will lead us, so let's find out. Tonight, we have a guest with us. Would you please introduce yourself and tell people what you do?
Thank you, Amy. My name is Sam Robb. I wear a number of hats. I'm on here right now because I'm an author. I'm also a father and a Sunday school teacher and a software developer I work for a large software company. And I also do PR for a small press called Raconteur Press. So I've kind of been all over the place, and I'm really over the last couple of years just starting to spread my wings and do what I've always wanted to do with my life, which was to write fiction.
Great. So you with your many hats. I know that feeling. So
Yep.
When did you start writing?
I actually started writing, it was in second grade. I wrote a short story for class and showed it to my dad, and that was it for a long while. Life got in the way, lots of stuff. I went to college for metallurgical engineering, ended up going to the Navy for a while.
Thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I was basically standing watch. I was on board a replenishment oiler, which is kind of like a floating convenience store. So we got to give snacks and mail to everybody. And
Don't
then
people enjoy that? You know, that's something to look forward to, I guess, when you're in the military.
Oh yeah, they did like us.
They
did like us. And then actually, it was a couple of years ago. I got involved with writers group online. Not so much a writers group, but an organization called the Writer Dojo. Larry Correa and Steve Diamond did a podcast where they were encouraging new writers and talking about the craft and how it works. And I'd been following Larry for a long time on Facebook, and I said, well, I should be able to do this. I want to tell stories. I know I have stories. I've done NaNoWriMo a couple of times. I should be able to make this happen. And I followed his advice, which was, put your butt in the chair, put your hands on the keyboard, and write. And don't always manage to do that, but when I do, I think I turn out something that's pretty cool. So I'm enjoying it.
That's great. And I think when you are a writer and you love it, it's your passion. And sometimes we don't always realize that it is our passion till it happens. But like you, when I was little, before I could write, I would tell stories, or I would make up new endings for the fairy tales that my mother would read me. So then she stopped reading to me, and she had me read, and then she would ask me, okay, so how would you end this story? And that's kind of, she called me her little storyteller. But once I could write, oh man, and it was always like short stories or poetry. And, my teenage years, a lot of dark, angsty teenage things.
Oh, yeah.
Short stories. And, my English teachers used to think that I used big words to be impressive, but I used big words because I knew how to use them. And I used to read the dictionary because I wanted to learn new words. Better words. After a little while, my English teachers realized that I knew what I was doing. But you never know. I mean, I did a lot in my life, and And then all of a sudden, one day I'm like, there's something missing. And because I was working and had little kids and a husband and all that kind of stuff and a job. And then I thought, well, in the evening I always had an hour to myself. So I put it to use and I started writing. And that first book ended up having 67 volumes. So I just finished this.
Wow.
I
Oh
know.
my goodness.
It's like I kept going back to the characters. So, and actually just to get them out there because they've been just kind of sitting on my computer. I'm releasing 2 a week till the end of July just to get them out there because you never know. Uh, anything could happen. So I want to
Oh
have
yeah.
my work out there and I switched genres too. So, but you do more like, so first tell me about how many books have you published?
I've got 2 books right now,
Okay.
with a third, well, actually 2 more on the way. So my first book was a collaboration with a friend of mine, an illustrator by the name of Cedar Sanderson, and she did something called Inktober, where you an illustration every day based on some, suggesting keywords.
Hmm.
Um, and I thought that was really cool. And I had actually in the past done something with her, 50-word short stories based on an image that she
Hmm.
provided. Not Raconteur Press, but Cedars Publishing House had put out a couple of volumes of short story, like micro flash fiction done
Cool.
that way. And I thought, well, okay, I'm experienced. I've written stories based on her illustrations before. Why don't I just go ahead and do that? So I asked her if she would mind if I did that, and she didn't. So basically, I would go to work, mulling over what these keywords were, and then come home in the evening and see what she had actually come up with, and then sit down and write, anywhere between 500, 600 word to a couple of thousand word short story, flash fiction. And by the time I got done with that, I realized I had about, I think it was about 35,000, 40,000 words, and 30 stories.
Wow.
And, so I asked her, I said, could we put this together as a book? And she said, yeah, I was thinking the same thing. So, we put those together and, created a book called, One October Night. And, it's a collection of flash fiction and, actually some really good stories in there. A lot that I like to do as readings when I'm at conventions. Um, and then, my second book that just came out recently is, Sigils. It's an urban fantasy book, about a young graffiti artist, living in the city of Pittsburgh who accidentally, puts his tag on a wall and attracts the interest of something that probably you don't want to have interested in you. So it's a little bit of horror, a little bit of, urban fantasy. The two of those seem to go hand in hand, and a little bit of a kind of a coming of age book. I wanted to write something that, teenage Sam, a teenage me would have thought was interesting. So, there's monsters and, learning about getting along with people and, of course, a fascinating young lady involved too. So.
Cool. If you don't mind, you could send me anything that you write, and I'd love to read them and review them for you.
Absolutely, man.
Great. So let's see. You also do PR, right? So
Yes, ma'am.
what kind of I mean, we all kind of know, public relations, but what actually goes into that type of job? I mean, what do you have to do how do you make you obviously you'd have to have some context in order to be able to
Yeah.
promote your authors.
And this is a good example of actually what happened with you is I wish would happen more, which is you reached out to us and said, "Hey, you guys look interesting. We'd like to have some people on the show." And so I jumped on it because I wanted to get to know you and understand what's going on. And so far, absolutely love what I've seen and what you do.
Great.
So hopefully we'll be able to send some authors your way. But a lot of it is reaching out to people, you know, kind of the internet equivalent of cold calls,
Yeah.
researching podcasts, researching people who do, book interviews. There's several out there. Jimbo Science Fiction and Fantasy Reviews Jim is a great guy. He's reviewed a number of our books. There's a couple of podcasts that we've been on fairly regularly. We've done some work with Dominic D'Souza, who does Legend Haven, which is an online conference. So it's all about building those relationships. And the thing that's different from PR from marketing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Marketing is about reaching out to potential readers and getting them interested in your book. PR is about taking your authors and showing someone who has an audience that this is someone who would be interesting to talk to, and getting them out and getting them, in a place where they can reach their own readers. So it's a lot of connecting people with people, which is actually a lot of fun and something I do like to do.
Yeah, and I can understand that. I don't do PR, but maybe kind of for what I offer. So I have relationships with people from different publishing companies or publicists, and they send their authors my way, and that's great. But there's a lot out there, so I do reach out and just send a note introducing myself and what I can offer. I could review their work, and I've been doing this since 2014, so that is a plug. And I've been reading a lot longer, but I can. That's what I do. I've been slowing down with what I'm reading, but if someone has referral, I don't turn them away. Sometimes I have to because there's just too much. But being disabled does not help. But I do as much as I can I call them my authors because I've done over 3,000 and something reviews, and I have almost, I think it's 570 authors that keep coming back.
And see, as someone doing PR, you are exactly the type of person that I want to introduce my authors to. I want to say, hey, here's someone who's experienced. She's a good interviewer. She will put you at ease and make you, because let's be honest, most authors, we start telling stories in our heads because we feel uncomfortable talking to other people. Exactly. And then we realize we can write them down and we don't actually have to interact with people. And that's awesome. I'm a little bit of I can make myself be an extrovert. Mm-hmm. I've learned how to do that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, but it's not a skill that a lot of introverts try to learn. So finding someone like you who's really good at just making people feel at home and helping them to just talk about themselves one-on-one with you, that's amazing. That's fantastic. I'm really glad we got to know you.
Yeah, well, thank you. And it's been really great speaking with you. The other thing that I do, and I know that, and I've done it for a few, some authors, whether they're experienced or they've never had an interview before, I always tell them, listen to some of the podcasts where I've interviewed people so they can kind of see.
Yes.
For some people, like, do you have a list of questions? No, I have no idea what I'm going to ask you, because I ask you a question, you respond, and then I respond to your answer. But authors that are, too shy, I offer, for $10, they can, I'll read their book, and then I'll spend a half hour talking about it and promoting their book on my show, and I'll read an excerpt and stuff like that. So an author, even if they're, they don't want to be, they're too nervous to be interviewed, I can still, I'll talk about their book and, what I think about it, and promote the author and their work as if the author was doing it themselves. So I know it's not easy to do that. I had almost thought about quitting after my first year, and then I had people like, no, you can't do that. And then I just reformatted it and reached out to people and said, hey, you want to be on my podcast? And let people know. I do whatever I can for authors. Sometimes I help them do little promotions. I do readings because I've had authors say, I don't know if my book is good enough. So they'll send me, I'm like, send it to me and I'll tell you honestly, but don't send me the first draft. I've had that. I know I've had that. And it's like, when I review, I don't give anything less than 3 stars. And I'm fortunate that, or the author is fortunate, however you look at it, is that I'll send them a note saying, I can't review this book, and I'll tell them why.
Right.
And then I said, if once it's publish ready, some people don't understand what that means, but once it's publish ready, they can send it back, I'll reread it, and I'll give them a review. And they've done that, because some people are like, oh my God, I got to get it out real quick. And, I don't care if it's if it's done and it's in an editing, someone's editing it, they're like, I'll get it right back to you. But then I'll read it for content and not necessarily, a typo or something like that. But I just want to do whatever I can. It feels good to help authors. And when I do promotions, it's based off of their budget, not my prices. I think even when I do editing, I'm like, what's your budget? Because I have I have a scale, but I always get, if they have a small budget, I'll do the same work that I would have done if they did full price. So. And I don't know of many people that actually do that, but I've heard people say, oh, I spent $20,000 on an editor. And I'm like, really? I'm in the wrong line of work.
You learn real fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, you learn real fast when you get into this, just how it's a shame that there are predators out there. There are predatory presses, horrible contracts. There's just something, one of our authors, John Van Stry, posted on Substack about, a publishing house that had a really bad contract exposed.
Or there's lots that are going on. These emails.
Oh yeah.
I get hundreds of them in my inbox, and because I promote authors, they actually will address me using the author's name because I promoted them. But I don't know how many times I've been called David.
Yeah.
And
it's not. It's nuts. You have to learn fast, and finding good people like yourself. One of the reasons that I'm really, really thrilled that I fell in with my writing group, the Alpha Mercs, and then with Raconteur Press, is that they're some good people. They're all honest and above board. Ian McMurtry, who Law Dog, who started Raconteur, had a very bad experience with a publisher himself, and determined that he was not going to do that to anybody. So we try to be as transparent as possible. If you're in one of our anthologies, you can go back and in one of our Substack posts, we show you the exact contract you're going to have, so you can read it over and take a look at it and have somebody else take a look at it. We're very clear about how we do our royalties and make our payments and what services we use to do all that. And when I got involved with them, right, I was just like, oh, this is how everybody does it. And it's a little bit of a wake-up call to find out that, no, not everybody does things like that.
Yeah, I know. I've had, I have clients that, one, had, and I felt bad because he asked me to help him find a publisher. So I did. I researched publishers. I sent out query letters. He got 2 contracts, one for, he had 2 books, so he got 2 contracts. And I was like, oh, that's great. Well, it turned out it would have been great if he didn't question the cover or some other things they wanted to do and he didn't agree with. So then he started getting like the less support of the publishing company. And I'm like, oh man, I said, I've never heard about that company before. I said, so I'm guessing that the authors that are contracted with them are like, okay, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
They're more agreeable or something, but it's your work. I believe that if you're going to create a book cover for an author, that you should read the book to know what it's about and also get the author's input on what they think should be represented. And a lot of places, they don't do that. It's like, okay, here it is.
Yep.
And you're lucky to get 3 to choose from.
And that's very standard in the industry, especially in the traditional publishing world, right? Here's your cover. I mentioned I have a couple of other books coming out. I've got one, with a publisher, and, he and I have gone back and forth over the title and the cover so much, because coming up with a title is hard. A good title is, we think we have one and we go and look and we're like, oh yeah, 400 books have used that title before.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my goodness. But, same thing I'm very grateful that he has put up with me so much with this cover, because he wants to market it and he wants a cover that works for that. And I understand that. And I want something that works for the book. And, it's hard to find that balance. I'm very grateful that he's been working with me on that.
Yeah, I do my own covers. I learned a long time ago not to use those templates because everybody's got one, so they all think it's the same book, especially that purple and white one. But I do my own, and I tell authors, I'm like, even if you just had one color and then your book title on it, and I said, it's better than those templates. But I've done my own, and I've worked with authors, trying to get their, create their cover for them. And sometimes it's just formatting what they have. I had one that used his daughter's painting, and it was amazing. And he just needed it to be formatted with everything put on it. And so that was just, you have to, as a person who's creating something for an author, whether you're doing editing or you're creating their cover or even marketing, you need that author's input on it. It's your work, so you do not need to lose your voice. I've seen people edit so badly, like they give it to an editor, and by the time it's done, it's not even their book anymore,
Yeah.
And I've read books that, and did editing, and And some things, it's just, you can tell that it's the way the author writes. It's their voice, so you don't change it. Somebody else might
Yes.
say, "Oh yeah, that's a big mistake." Oh, whatever. But you don't take away an author's voice ever, and that's just
Yeah.
what I believe in.
My wife actually, she works as an editor. Um, and that is a tremendous concern of hers. She is always being very careful, trying to make sure that she wants things, you want things to be grammatically correct. She wants to make sure, like, that your guy isn't standing up from the table 3 times in,
Yeah,
in a row,
yeah,
the line editing. She's just learning how to do, structural editing, and in my opinion is doing a terrific job at it.
right.
Um, but you really want to make sure that and I think actually, having worked on some of my stuff, she's sensitive to that. She understands that you can't, that's not your story.
Right.
It's somebody else's story, and they're telling it the way they are for a reason. And she's learned that, if she tells an author, well, why did you do things this way? And they say, well, I wanted it that way. Well, okay, we'll leave it that way.
Yeah,
We'll figure out how to make it work.
yeah. When there's something that is, sometimes there's overused words, and I have my own. I mean, I have a notebook when I edit my
Yes.
stuff that tells me, okay, I'm always writing like I know or I understand or the word just, and I'm like, get
Oh
rid of
yeah.
that. Once you go through it, and I read it out loud too, so that I can make myself read every single word when I'm editing my work before I just send it to someone else.
Yeah.
Makes
This,
it
this,
easier.
this book that I was talking about, where I'm working on the cover, when I was doing the, copy edits for that, I did not realize how many times I used not just repeating words, but like cold, frigid, freezing, um, and like sometimes like 4 times or 5 times in the same paragraph, and I'm like, oh, I didn't even notice it while I was writing it. I was just getting it out, and
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
man,
I know your dialogues. When you read it out loud, you can hear the dialogue, and sometimes you're like, "What? A real person wouldn't say it like that."
yes,
I did have a character that I wrote once that he wanted to make himself, because he was a street thug, but when he grew up, he wanted people to take him seriously, and so he taught himself how to speak without using contractions. So it was
hmm
very, I had to be very deliberate when writing his dialogue to not have the contractions in there. And then of course I had, his sons would tease him, come on, one contraction, just say it.
hmm
But, it kind of made it like more interesting. Like, he thought it made him sound smarter, but sometimes you have to reword the way the sentence flows. But,
there was I can't remember what it was, but I remember reading a story where that was actually a key plot point, where there was one character who did not use contractions, and somebody was imitating them at some point in the story and used a contraction. And that was very deliberate, because it was a hint that they were not who
yeah.
they said they were. And I thought, when I was done with that, I was like, that was fantastic. I love it when people can play with language and play with words like that.
Oh yeah, it's so much fun. And I mean, my sons will tell you, they're grown now, but that I have the worst puns ever. But I like puns. I'm like, but I'm very punny. And they just shake their head. It's not just dumb dad jokes. It's silly mom jokes.
Oh,
But
I
my
can't,
dad,
I can't do that. My daughter trashes me. She is a pun master.
I love it. And when I hear something, I'm like, oh, I should have thought of that. My dad had a very, I call it a cerebral uh, sense of humor, and he was very socially awkward, and he used jokes when he was a kid to kind of lighten the mood, or he'd wait for, to just start a conversation because he didn't know how. Even as an adult, he was a genius, and literally, he was a genius, and he had a traumatic brain injury, but I got his jokes, and I'm the only one. And one time we were at a doctor's office, and he looked up at, they had this huge digital clock on the wall, and it said 10:40. And so my dad looked at it. He goes, oh. Then he looked at his watch, and then he's like, time to do my taxes. And and the nurse just looked at me. She's like, what? She didn't get it. And then when you have to explain it, my dad and I are laughing, and I'm trying to explain it to her, but she was just like, oh, okay. I'm like, if I have to explain it, then
Yeah.
you never got it. But my dad, he was just, he was so funny, and I got his jokes, and he got mine, and so I take to heart that he still has something of himself, at least in his heart. But yeah, we loved books, and we shared vinyls. We would swap vinyls, and now I have all of his vinyls. He's in a memory facility right now, so I'm just waiting for that call. But
Oh, I'm
anyway,
sorry, ma'am.
it just it's hard. And actually, they expected him to have gone, to have passed away months ago, but he's always been stubborn his entire life, and he's still stubborn. But I've been playing a lot of Elvis Presley lately because that brings me close to my dad, and he could sing and do that where Elvis would drop his voice and then bring it back up again. My dad could do that. He was a singer, and he also played guitar and piano when he was a teenager. So I loved hearing him sing, so I hear that a lot. But I am really thankful for you being on the show. It's great to get to know you, and I'd love to have you back. And anybody at the publishing company, staff, authors, whatever, I would love to have them on the show. I think that would be great. So I'm just going to wrap up now. It's the end of another great conversation, and thank you for being on the show, and thank you, audience, for listening. If you wish for you to be a guest on the show, go to amysbookshelfreviews.com/podcast and schedule your pre-recording. Please follow this podcast on Spotify. I'm Amy Shannon. Be safe, be well, and always be kind. Tune in here again next week for another tantalizing discussion. Thank you for listening to Amy's Bookshelf Reviews podcast.